Hello, everyone. Welcome to the fourth edition of the SFL Podcast. I am your host, Andy Hamilton. I'm joined by three other people this evening. We'll start with Damon since he's the most familiar face. Damon, how you doing this evening?
Hey, bud, I'm great, man. Just glad to be here. Welcome everybody to the podcast.
And then we have two new faces with us. I guess we'll start with staff members because they maybe should have jumped in front of Damon in terms of rank. We'll go to Andrew next. Andrew Rastelli, the Director of Player Personnel, is here with us. Andrew, how you doing?
Doing great. Really glad to be here.
Awesome. And then all the way, Liam, you got to remind me, are you from London or are you from another part of England?
I'm in the southeast of England. It was called a county. I suppose it would be a state in the US.
Okay.
Sussex. So I live on the seafront. I live on the beach. So not a sandy beach, unfortunately. It's got a load of pebbles. So not going to be getting my suntan out anytime soon. But no, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, it's Liam from St. Louis. He's coaching with the St. Louis Gladiators. I don't think I got that in there.
Yeah, that's right.
So we're real glad to have him. We're glad we got the times to work out so he could be with us. Yeah, I mean, it's great to have you guys back for another week. Mighty couldn't join us. He's a little busy. Who else? Ronnie, I don't think, got back to me this week. I think those are all the guests we've ever had. So let's keep rolling. We're going to look first, as we always do, at what happened last week. We'll start at the end of the slate, week 13. So Cam had the last call of the week. Queen City 45 over Baltimore, who had 24. Andrew, I think this one might sting you the most. Do you want to start?
It's just one of those games, and it was unfortunate that it was one of those games and the situation that it was, but it was just one of those games. You throw 7 picks, 3 of them coming in what turned out to be garbage time. It just basically was one of those complete offensive breakdowns because I felt like Baltimore's defense really kept them in the game as best they could, considering how much time they were on the field. It was like watching the Eagles when Chip Kelly was around, and it was it was pretty much all they could do. It was a good game, and Queen City definitely came out wanting it more. And Rastelli, he definitely started forcing throws at the end of the game and kind of literally threw the game away at the end, and didn't really get Baltimore the chance to get back in it as close as we were at halftime. Second half was a complete show. So, we'll persevere and move on to Carolina next week.
Tough game, tough call. Cam did well with it. Queen City gets the win, moves on. This is a team to be looking out for. They always get hot right around playoff time, as Damon can probably attest to. They clinch their playoff spot at 6-5 with the win. Baltimore has to get in the jumble here with Atlanta and Carolina to see if they can continue their playoff run. Damon, what did you think about this game?
Which one was that again?
The Queen City and Baltimore one.
Oh, Queen City and Baltimore. Man. Oh, man. That game there was dogfight. The turnovers, like Rastelli said, the turnovers really what cost them, that game there. So it could have been a totally different ball game, if the turnovers was a whole lot less than what was presented during the game. So I was rooting for Baltimore because, as you stated, Andy, that Baltimore do, win games closing out of the season so that they can get into the playoffs, So, unfortunately, they in a tough spot right now. So we'll see if they can make it in this week with the win over Carolina.
Yeah, we'll see. That'll be a tough matchup.
And some help.
Yeah, and we'll get to all those, and that's going to be a very lengthy discussion. Liam, any thoughts on this game?
Yeah, well, we played against Baltimore last week in St. Louis, and they've come off of I think, a very tough slate of games, and it's been 5 losses on the bounce. I think they've got such a good record in terms of getting into the playoffs. I find it difficult to see how they could miss out. But when you go from being 5-1 to having the record that you have now, I think some questions maybe need to be asked, or there needs to be some change in the way that they play the game. I think they may end up scraping through. I mean, a lot of it comes down to the Monday night game for us against Atlanta, and we could end up doing the same thing that we did to Baltimore, and come out with probably a bit of an unexpected win. So we'll have to see. My money certainly wouldn't be on the Crabs just at the moment, just because of the way that they have slid basically from being 5-1 to the record that they're at now. But it'll be an interesting weekend of games in the conference.
That it will. I was telling these guys before we went ahead and got started that Cam, Eric, and I had a very lengthy discussion in trying to figure out what games would be what days, and we'll get to all that when we walk through our slate. But every game matters this week. But a huge game last week in the Western Conference. Houston falls to Dallas on the game of the week. Demond is not happy, and I could tell you why. And I'm with you, Demond. I'm not happy either. I told Cam, I voiced it right after the game. I showed up with the expectance that I would have a premier game, one that was going to be close till the end, and I had my excited voice on. I was ready to go. It was as close to a playoff game as I could get. And what happened?
Houston folded, man. I mean, you got to give credit to Dallas. They put a great defensive game plan in, and then the game plan we came in with on the offensive side was pretty much a game plan that we shouldn't have went with. I went away from what worked, from the previous games where we were winning, to something that I thought would be a little bit more sexier, should we say, in the playbook, So I had to get rid of that and go with what works, stick to what we know, not what we think looks sexy on the field. So yeah, that was a heartbreaker though, man. My heart's still skipping a beat from that. So, well, I think I'll be fine come tomorrow.
I was rooting for you, because if you would have won the game, it would have came down to just me and Dallas, and the winner will go into the playoffs. But you'd ruin that for me. I don't know.
I'm sorry, buddy. I tried my best.
We both could have been there, Demond, and now it's got to be one of us. So, no, it was a tough game. Dallas kind of, started off strong, and Houston, for whatever reason, Cantrell just couldn't make the plays down the stretch. Hawkins was running well for most of the game. He had some runs that weren't, necessarily breakaways, but obviously, no running back is going to have 110% of his carries be open field. A tough game. I don't think you can chalk this up to how Houston will play coming into the week, and I don't think anyone would expect them to play at the same caliber. Liam, what did you think of this game? Did you get a chance to see it?
I got a chance to take a look at some of the later playing the game, and I was surprised that it was not a closer run thing. I think, with all due respect, the level of play in the conference it's been so balanced across all of those teams right at the top, and seeding is going to be crucial going into the playoffs, especially in the Western Conference, because where you have the two, you'd probably say, standout teams in the East with the Pride and the Sparrows. The seeding is going to be so crucial for getting through to the championship game, the home field advantage, and so on. So I was surprised that that the Hyenas couldn't pull out the win. But it's obviously still alive, and it's crucial that they can get the result this weekend and push it as far as possible. But it remains to be seen. The conference has been, or the Western Conference has been, so close for so long this season that it's really going to be difficult to say for sure who's going to end up getting that last spot.
Yeah, it'll definitely be a very tough game. The Houston OKC matchup. We'll talk about what OKC did last week and how that will play out into coming this week. Andrew, did you get a chance to catch this game? You're on mute, buddy. You muted yourself. There you go.
Google was kind enough to tell me. The thing about this game was that I'll be honest. I think I've been sleeping on Houston all season. Just looking at the build and the way that it was coming in, I wasn't exactly sure that it was something that was going to succeed in that conference. But now they're in a position to totally make the playoffs, and they put in a real tough fight on a lot of these teams, and they have beaten a lot of good teams this season. Their scoring margin is almost even, so their offense and defense has been doing exactly what they need them to do. So for Dallas to come in and to be honest, kind of squeak by with a win here, it was impressive, because Dallas has been a good team, but man, did Houston put up a fight in that game.
Right.
And there was a while there where I was like, Houston's going to pull this one out. They're gonna do this. And then they even had that almost comeback win against Mexico City a week or two ago. And I mean, they've been showing a lot of command in that second half, where they are dangerous in the second half, and that's going to come into play this week when all that fight is in them to get that last playoff spot. So I am high on Houston this coming week.
Sure.
Appreciate the love.
This is a matchup that could potentially resurface in terms of the playoffs. Dallas muscles their way in. Houston, with a win this week, would push their way in. Definitely a matchup that I could foresee resurfacing in the playoffs down the road. And I'm sure DeMond will play that a little more conservatively in terms of how sexy he makes his offense, in saying that it didn't work out the first time. But we'll move on. We won't berate DeMond with the shortcomings of his team this week. Eric's called game in a loser goes home matchup, Mexico City and Vegas, a 3-point victory for the Aztecs. Liam, we'll start with you, man. What did you think of this game? Did you have a chance to look at it?
I didn't get a chance to watch this one, but I had the Aztecs slated to end up getting into the playoffs. I just think the Las Vegas team, they let it go too far late into the season to actually pick up the speed and actually get in. It's obviously been so close again in the Western Conference to actually get into the playoffs, but I think the Aztecs have got a good shot. They're obviously going to be maybe a little bit weaker in terms of the playoff seeding, but they got as much of a shot, I think, as anybody else in there.
Yeah, at 500, Mexico City will squeak in at 6-6 with their win. I think I as well expected Mexico City to win this game, although Las Vegas put up one heck of a fight. And I'll be the first one to say I think it was closer than I anticipated. I wanted Vegas to win the thing because that would have helped me quite a bit in terms of trying to secure a playoff spot in LA. But, hats off to Ramos and Mexico City. They definitely deserved it on a year, that Ramos, I'm sure, wishes more came out of it, considering that, last year they were at this going into week 14, they were playing for the top spot in their conference heading into the playoffs. So I'm sure he wanted more out of the season, but a playoff berth nonetheless. DeMond, this is a game that, really put you in terms of losing. It put you and myself right on that bubble spot. What did you think about how Mexico City played?
I think Mexico City played great. As I stated, in a few past shows, that Mexico City, don't sleep on them, because this team knows how to win. Despite they had that losing streak at the beginning of the season, they had that. Then they end up having a winning streak, and they lost the game to Houston, and they rebounded back, the following weeks or so. So I knew this team was going to put up a fight, and whoever they came, to strap up on the other side of the field had to come with an awesome game plan and with a strong defense. And as I stated last week, that Las Vegas needs to show that they can put up points. Well, they put up points. They just didn't put up enough to outscore the Aztecs.
Fair point. A very fair point. Vegas having to go through some coaching changes, kind of mess with their. We talked to Ronnie. He was adamant on the home field advantage helping. Didn't help him enough this week. Vegas eliminated. So we wish our best to Mexico City heading forward. The next game, I want to get to this one quickly because it was, I think one of the more interesting games of the week. Atlanta whops the crap out of Tallahassee. Now, I don't know. Someone here is going to have to explain to me how in the world this happens, because Tallahassee was rolling. Well, I believe they were 8-1 at their peak. And I think, if I'm not incorrect, I think that's their second consecutive loss. They were on a bye in week 12, and yes, they lost in week 11 to Tallahassee. What happened in to the Sparrows. So week 10, they beat the crap out of Baltimore, dropping 52 on them. Week 11, they get 52 dropped on them, and then Atlanta gets close with 41. Andrew, if you're there, you're on mute, so try and unmute yourself this time. Can you explain to me what the heck Tallahassee has been going on through the last weeks? Because you watched them beat you guys down 52-23, and now you got to be looking going, well, why couldn't we have played these Tallahassee teams?
Well, Tallahassee's strength all season has been their offense. The fact that they're getting 50 points hung on them didn't matter in the first half of the season, because they were scoring almost 60 points. They were scoring 45 points. It was disgusting how they were moving down the field with ease and at will. So what happened to the offense in the second half of the season? That's the question. So because they went on that six-game winning streak to start the season, they lost one, then they win two, then they lose one, then they win one, then they lose two. I mean, it's just all of a sudden the pattern started to go in the wrong direction. So if you look at the standings right now, Tallahassee's sitting at 8-4, started at 8-3, and Sioux Falls at 8-4. Tallahassee loses. Well, now Sioux Falls is just as good. So, it's really hard to break down exactly what happened to Tallahassee, but it's definitely the offense. What happened to the offense? It just seems more lackluster than it was the first 8 games of the season.
Right, and we know T-Pat is the one who's helping Frank in terms of the offensive side of the ball. Damon, do you have any insider information, and don't ruin any of your relationships here in terms of what you know and what you don't know? Do you have any information? I haven't seen T-Pat around in a while. Is he alive? Is he all right? What happened to the offense?
I have no idea. I mean, that's a good question. I wish I had some insight for you, but I haven't. I don't even think I've even seen him on Facebook in a while. But we all know that he's in med school, and then he's pursuing that career in the medical field and whatnot. And we all just wish the best for him there. But that may be taking a toll on him. As yourself who is in college, myself who's in college, we all know that sometimes we don't want to, be bothered with the SFL and doing playbooks, but it's something that has to be done. And if you don't make adjustments to your playbook according to the defense of the other team, sometimes it's not going to play out for you. You have to make changes. So I'm not saying that Tallahassee haven't made changes, but that could be the issue there. So, we just don't know. But we'll see how they come out this week against Queen City, a team that has matched up pretty well against them.
Right. Another playoff game. Both of those teams, Queen City and Tallahassee, going to the playoffs. The timing could not be worse for the Pride to kind of self-destruct almost. And in that, the playoffs are right around the corner, and these losses, that they're piling up to Sioux Falls, to Atlanta, and then potentially to Queen City if they, were to fall this week as well, are teams that they could be facing, down the road. So that's something to keep an eye on this week. We'll move to the next game because we're taking a lot of time here on the first week, and I don't want to be here forever.
Right.
Liam, one that was close to your heart, Sioux Falls tops St. Louis just barely, a 11-point victory, 24-13. Sioux Falls gets the win against a very strong St. Louis team in this game, which had some bad weather. Liam, do you want to talk to me about maybe a little bit how the weather affected the play? Did it work to your advantage, would you say, or do you think your game plan would have worked better if it would have been sunny and bright?
Well, I think our game plan, certainly for the past few weeks, we've been very strong in the first half of play. If you look back at the Skyhawks game, Carolina Skyhawks game, the first half we shut out the Skyhawks, and then we had a spate of interceptions, and we're suddenly down by 35. They scored so many points on us. They scored 35 unanswered points. Then we had the Crabs game, and we won that match. And our defense over the course of the season has improved dramatically from where we were. We conceded over 50 points in our first 3 games, and those weren't easy games. We had the Pride, then we had the Corsairs, and then we had the Swarm. But the last few weeks, you look at it, it's just a dramatic change. And then you had this week last week against the Sparrows, and again at half time we shut them out. We had the lead. I think we were a lot more unlucky this time than we were against the Carolina game, because we kind of brought problems upon ourselves in that game. Against the Sparrows, we had improved dramatically on our performance that we had at home in week 8, I believe it was. So yeah, it's disappointing. I think the weather did have a bit of an impact on Jalen Thomas with some of the balls that he was unable to complete. I think there was a bit of certainly watching the game impact on him slipping around and being unable to get his running boots going. But we had a good day on the ground otherwise, with Park Hee-chul making quite a few yards. It's disappointing, obviously, to lose. I think we just had a few things go against us with the Sparrow. They have such a strong passing game. As soon as you allow them to get those favourable coverages, as soon as you do that, they're gonna throw the ball all over you. So it's disappointing. We knew that our chances of going to the playoffs was slim anyway. We ended up being put out of contention, I think, after the game a couple of weeks ago. But we wanted to shut out the season on a high note, and I think we've certainly shown ourselves not to be pushovers. So I just taking this week the Tallahassee and the Sioux Falls game into account. I think the Pride, they certainly have a lot of problems. I think if they're starting to concede over 50 points, and they conceded it to the Sparrows, and then they went on to Atlanta and had the same problem. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing in the Atlanta game. The Sparrows have to be careful with some of the penalties that they concede, because I noticed that they caused themselves a lot of problems in the first half against us by doing that. So it'd be interesting to see how things play out this week in terms of the way that the seedings are going to be set up. I think the Sparrows passing game is just too strong. It's a big scoring league and it's a passing league. And I think that will bring them out on top over the rest of the teams in the conference.
a fair, we'll call it a guess, who will be on top of the conference. Andrew, this game affects you because you need some St. Louis help coming into this next week. What did you see from St. Louis that you liked? And what about Sioux Falls might have scared you potentially heading into the playoffs?
What I saw out of St. Louis was exactly what was needed to win that game until the fourth quarter. They completely shut down one of the more high-powered offenses in the league, and surprisingly so. It's the only team in the league without a star running back, and Jason has really made that work. He's had that passes almost all game, pretty much all game, and then when he gets in the red zone, hands it off to that non-star, and he only needs 3 yards out of him, and boom, rushing touchdown. So it's an interesting concept, and it's exactly what's been working for Sioux Falls all season. What St. Louis was able to do was able to keep him out of the red zone and was able to shut down that passing offense from Tyree until the fourth quarter. And then for some reason, it just broke down. And for Sioux Falls, they need also to give their offense more, because in addition to have let up the most points this season, they've also scored the least. So, and a lot of that is heavily weighed towards the beginning of the season when their defense was trying to figure it out. But I like what I see out of Thomas. I feel like he could be a very good quarterback in the SFL, given the right tools around him to succeed. And I just haven't seen that all season. So as soon as that happens, and St. Louis is able to get their offense really motivated in order to help the defense out, St. Louis has the plan in place right now to really make a difference in the league. As for the Atlanta game, they need to do exactly what they did. They need to shut down Boo Chisholm on the outside. They need to contain the running game from Hollywood. And with those 2 players shut down, they should be able to give their offense enough time to catch up and get ahead and win that game, because those are the threats from Atlanta: Chisholm and Hollywood.
Right. So we'll head to the last matchup for the week. And Demond, I'll let you start on this one so you can pay me back for talking about your loss. And we'll talk about Oklahoma City, the win 30-17 over LA, which puts me right in the bubble with Demond here. Demond, go ahead, rub it in, buddy.
No, I'm not going to rub it in, man. This matchup here, Sharknado, is always one of the best matchups in the league here. It just happened, dude, just that, OKC came out with a better defense this game here. Like I say, these two teams here always match up well. But I think Mr. Irvine over there, is starting to put some things together where that his team is making strides. And then there's times where they take a fall where they can't score over 20 points, That's just the beauty of this league. Sometimes you can get plus 20, 30, and sometimes you can't get it at all, I think he just came with a great defensive game plan against LA this game here. Kudos to him on that. But and it kind of put LA in a soft in a hard spot, coming into this week where they have to win and they have to get some help, in other places or so. But hey, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, a very tough contest. Oklahoma City already out of the playoff race, along with Vegas. We'll shift to looking at the Western Conference as a whole now. Dallas clinched their spot after this weekend. Alaska has their spot. Mexico City got their spot, so there is one spot and 2 teams left looking at it. Houston is in the pilot seat. If they can get the win over Oklahoma City, who we just spoke about, they are in. However, if they lose, it gets interesting. LA can get in if Houston loses and then LA beats Dallas. So we'll go through each matchup in a minute and talk about what we like. And then we'll go to the Eastern Conference now. So we'll look at that real quick here. Tallahassee still has their spot. They have their spot. Sioux Falls has clinched their spot. Queen City has their spot taken. So there's one spot left. St. Louis is out of the running. So there's 3 teams for that one spot. Atlanta, Baltimore, and Carolina all in action this weekend, and only one of them can push through into the playoffs. So let's go ahead and push into the next week of action and start talking about the game. So it'll start Saturday, so that's tomorrow, 7 Central, 8 Eastern. We got 2 games on Rabbit. And Eric Vincent will call one game live. So we'll start with the games on Rabbit. Let's start with Alaska and Vegas. Now, this game matters because if Alaska wins, they potentially still have a shot at the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. If Vegas wins, it means that Dallas and even Houston have better shots at seeding. Liam, talk to me about who you think might come out on top in this game.
Yeah, I think this is going to be. I think this is going to be a win for Alaska. I think they've just got too much about them, really, and Las Vegas have. You don't want to see teams give up, but given the state of where the season is last week, and you're going to try and play spoiler. I know that being at St. Louis, you don't want to just give up, but when you're talking about a team which is basically bottom of the pile going up against teams right at the very top, and it's going to be tough for Las Vegas to pull a win out. They could come out, they could, make this their championship game, but I just think with the rushing offense that Alaska have, certainly, I think it's just going to be too much for them to handle.
Sure, Damon, let's toss it to you. What do you think?
Oh man, I want to take Vegas in this game. Reason being is because you look at the last 3 weeks, they lost to LA by 4 points. Then they turn around, they lose to Dallas by 7 points. They lose to Mexico City by 3 points. I mean, this team is there. They're in the games. They just can't score enough points, So, right. So I want Vegas to win this game, but I have to pick Alaska. I don't see them beating Alaska. Like I stated, show me you can put up points. Nothing against Ronnie. It just is what it is. That's just how it's been the last few weeks or so. But I see Alaska winning this game and knocking the hopes out of Houston or Dallas getting that number 1 spot.
Andrew, what do you think, man?
To echo what Damon said, Las Vegas has to score points. And their defense is good. They penetrate the pocket. They chase down the quarterback. They're able to stop the run. But Alaska's defense is arguably better. Alex Dominguez has been an absolute demon in the backfield. He's been crushing offensive lines all season. And they have a good secondary. And then you have Justin Beakley Jr., just running over defenses and plowing through defenders, and Robert Merrill on the outside, and Murdoch Mock has had the pleasure of having all the time he wants back there. So when it comes down to it, Alaska, in my opinion, just checks all the boxes in this matchup. This is Alaska's game to lose.
I agree with you there. I think Alaska, it kind of controls their own destiny here. Vegas not having the year that they wanted. The one guy I think you always have to look out for is Kaleka in that defensive backfield. In looking at Vegas 3 short weeks ago, that was our main concern in LA, was making sure that we're not throwing interceptions to him, because he can change the face of a game if he has the ball in his hands more than twice. So, that'll be something for Alaska to look out for. But fortunately for them, they're usually running the ball. The only thing to look out for is Klein in the middle. They like to throw to their tight ends, and that's right where Kaleka likes to sit. I still think Alaska will win this game, but like you guys said, in opposite of what you guys said, I wouldn't be surprised if this was a close game. So the other one on Rabbit on Saturday will be Dallas and LA. LA heading to Dallas. Dallas coming off the win over Houston. LA coming off the loss to Oklahoma City. I'm not going to talk about it because I know who I think will win. Andrew, we'll throw it right back to you to go in reverse order. What do you think of this matchup?
I think this matchup is going to be closer than I feel most people think. I'm going to say that chances are this split's going to be less than a touchdown, and I think I have to notch that up to the fact that LA likes to run the ball, and Dallas's defense is more geared towards the pass. You have Loshaw back there who is seemingly picking balls out of the air with a net, and he's really dangerous. But if Los Angeles is going to run the ball, then he's going to spend more time chasing down Mike Tatum than he is going to be picking balls. So I'd say a lot of this really comes down to LA's offense and whether or not they execute correctly and are able to work around that very stingy pass defense in Dallas, because Dallas's offense is going to be Dallas's offense. And so it really comes down to will LA's offense be able to pick up the slack, keep pace, and then take advantage for the win with probably only by 3 to 4 points.
It's a fair assessment. Liam, we'll toss it to you. What are you thinking?
I think it's going to be an interesting matchup again. I think it will be a close one. I think the double-edged sword implications of the win last week for Dallas will certainly come into play here, because we've all got Alaska going to win their match. So suddenly the pressure is on Dallas. If they want to get that first seed, they have to go and they have to get the win here. But I think Los Angeles are in good shape. Certainly, I think you will have made the necessary adjustments from what happened last week. I think you were probably chucking your clipboard down at some of the play in the fourth quarter of last week. But it's going to be an interesting matchup. I think it's probably too close to call. I think maybe Dallas might take their foot off the pedal a bit. I would give it to them solely just because of the record that they put together and the fact that they need to get this win in order to secure the top seed. So I'd be going with them for this one. But it's with the playoff implications in mind, it is going to be too difficult to call.
Yeah, Liam was one of the few people in the chat during the LA OKC game on Rabbit, so he saw my anger firsthand. So he would know how angry I was at that game. Somehow I don't think Damon thinks it'll be as close. He kind of got wrestled down by Dallas last week, and he would assume that he could beat LA. So Damon, what are you thinking here? Because I think I can read your mind a little bit.
The way to beat Dallas is with pressure. You have to put pressure on Wavy. You get him uncomfortable, get him to throw some ducks. If you go back and look at the first game, Houston and Dallas, Houston had a turnover or two. The last game they didn't have last week we didn't have a turnover at all, and we lost that game. LA has to predict turnovers in this game, and that's the way how you beat Dallas, a team that loves to throw the ball. You have to get off the field. You cannot let your defense sit on the field for long drives, and that way you Dallas wear out your defense there. But I can see if LA gets a few turnovers and get some pressure on Wavy and get him uncomfortable, I will see LA winning this game. But I'm gonna go with Dallas on this one.
Fair judgments all around. We'll move on to OKC and Houston, the primetime game for Saturday night, 7 Central, 8 Eastern for all of these games. Eric will be on the call as Houston hosts the Renegades, who just came off beating the Sharks, looking to play double spoilers. I talked to Michael Irvine a little bit this week. He's revved up. He's ready to go. Not to make a joke about Cam and the Texas Revolution. Revved up. No? Anyone? All right, we'll let it slide. So Houston, coming off the loss to Dallas, looking to push their way into the playoffs. For me, I think, in facing Oklahoma City, the one thing I found, is that they're very stingy against the run. And to that token, their offense is strong. They have a very good offense if they can get the thing going. If you can keep if Red Feather can produce for them, they will have a good offense. If the Houston team that shows up against Dallas shows up, I think Oklahoma City will squeak out a win here. If the Houston from 2 weeks ago that beat Mexico City shows up, I think Houston will walk into the playoffs. With that said, I'm sure Damon did all his homework this week in watching what Oklahoma City did to LA last week. Damon, what changed for you, man? What changes do you think unsexyified your offense in order to get the win this week?
I pretty much had to go back with simplifying my playbook, man. Big plays down the middle, down the side of the sidelines, those are what fans want to see, big time plays. But I noticed that that's not our style of play. Our style of play is running the rock. That's what we do best. Running the rock, hit Hawkins in the flats every now and then or whatnot, take a few shots down the middle or across the middle of the field or whatnot. And that's pretty much what I had to go back to, So that's what I did. Also, Greg did a phenomenal job on his defense adjustments this week. I feel that he put in some great adjustments that's going to help the defense out tremendously. So we're looking forward to, a great game. And I know that OKC is going to come out powering away as the last 3 seasons. When we played OKC last game of the season, they've always come up big and trying to play spoiler alert with Houston. So we're just going to see how this one here comes out. Taking Houston by 20.
Ooh, like 20. Andrew, you're laughing at that. What are your thoughts about how that one will turn out?
Talking to me?
I said Andrew.
Oh,
okay.
Okay.
I want the director.
This is. I really feel that this is Houston's game. They have to keep Red Feather in check. Brucey has had a very quiet season. He's within range of a 1,600-yard season, which is very good. But I don't feel like we've been hearing about, basically because he's been overshadowed by the fact that Marcus Allen breaking the record, and we have Justin Beakley, the rookie, who's just been trucking people over. So Brucey is a threat, but I feel like Red Feather in the passing game is more so. They have all those weapons on the outside and in the slot. So Houston really has to lock down that pass defense. And on Houston's offense, we have to look at Hawkins, where if he takes some contact, he tends to go down easy. But if he gets in the open, he's gone. If he gets in the open, he's got a free pass to the end zone or to at least 50 yards. The guy is so fast. So OKC really has to make sure that if they're gonna get Hawkins, they need to make contact early and hold on. Don't let him break free, because he will be gone. And then, of course, you have Corky and Stim coming over the middle, chipping away for 7 to 10 yards at a time, because Cantrell can be very efficient with those throws over the middle to those receivers. And so be careful on Houston on this one. I'm pretty sure that Houston's going to take this win. I won't say by 20, But I'll give them 10. I'll say they'll take it by 2 possessions at least.
That's fair. Liam, what are you thinking for this game, man?
I'm gonna take the Renegades just because I think with so much being made of the playoff implications, to have it come down to basically the Renegades going and beating both teams in the last couple of weeks would be maybe somewhat anticlimactic, but I think they've got good options running and passing the ball, and I think the amendments which are going to be made to the game plan coming up into this last week for Houston, it's very much going to come down to that to decide whether or not there will be a win at the end. But I'm anticipating maybe you see both of the playoff contenders losing. It's going to be interesting to see how it comes out. It'll be interesting either way. But I think it's going to be difficult to call. I think the Renegades have got probably more of a chance than maybe some people would give them credit for. I think they've had a few close run games this season as well, so that's certainly going to come into play here.
Fair enough. And if OKC wins, Houston not necessarily not in that playoff spot. It would depend on what happens in the LA-Dallas game. If Dallas were to win and Houston were to lose, Houston is into the playoffs. If Houston wins their game, they are into the playoffs. The only way LA makes it is if Houston loses to Oklahoma City and LA Sharks beat Dallas. Next, we'll head to the East, but before we do, I want to mention, keep in mind that the Eastern playbooks have not been submitted yet. So while you're welcome to give who you think will win the game, please try and limit why. That way we're not aiding anyone who might be a little confused as to what to do this week. We'll start. Yeah, we don't want to help anyone. We'll start with the 5 Central, 6 Eastern game on Monday, the 17th. Carolina and Baltimore. The winner wins the opportunity to stay alive in the conversation for the playoff spot in the East. The winner is not in. It will depend on how St. Louis and Atlanta do in the game later in the evening. So this one will start at 5 Central, 6 Eastern, and it will last all the way up to the 7 Central, 8 Eastern games, one on Rabbit and one that Cam is on the call for. We'll start with someone who doesn't have a idea about either of the teams. We'll go for Damon. Damon, what do you think of this matchup?
This matchup here, man, is going to be a great one. These two teams are arch rivals of the SFL. They don't like each other at all. Pretty sure, which we all knows. But I think I may have to go with Carolina on this one. I think Carolina is going to do it. I think Baltimore has fallen off the playoff train. I hate to say that about my good friend TJ and Rastelli sitting here in the in the booth with us. But hey, I think Carolina defense, man, has shown tremendous upside over the past few games, and they have done a great job over there with their defense. And I just don't see Baltimore beating this great defense this week.
Yeah, Baltimore has had a few down weeks, trying to get back on the horse just in time. They lost last week, if I'm remembering correctly. These teams have met once this season. Baltimore won that matchup, so this is the ultimate tiebreaker. I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, Carolina has the points differential. You'd have to double check with Cam, but I believe if Carolina wins, they are above Baltimore. And saying that, it sounds dumb, of course. How would Carolina still be alive if a loss would put them below Baltimore? Duh, Andy. So Carolina and Baltimore both need this game just as bad, but they need it just as much as they need St. Louis to win. Someone who's involved with that game is Liam. Liam, talk to me a little bit about the Carolina-Baltimore matchup and which team you would prefer to head forward if you were to get the win over Atlanta.
Yeah, well, I mean, when I came in, the very first game that I helped game plan for, helped scout was the Carolina game. They had a game against the Pride, and there was quite a bit of buzz, I think, around the league channels just about how much Carolina had come on from earlier in the season. So for me coming in, and I was thinking, well, maybe I'm not necessarily understanding the talk about how good they are. And then you look at the way they've been playing, they've basically hauled themselves back into the playoff conversation by winning 3 weeks straight. They beat Corsairs, they beat us, and they beat the Swarm. And now they come up against the Crabs, who have lost 5 on the bounce. And suddenly there's a massive opportunity for them to go on and get into the playoffs. For me, Carolina win this. I just don't see any way for the Crabs to come back when you've got such an important figure in Johnny English in Carolina's backfield. The way that he's effective on the ground, he's effective receiving. Shutting him down with the way that Baltimore have been playing, it's really difficult to go with anybody other than Carolina for this one.
Fair assessment. And Cam is feeding me information. He says if Carolina wins and Atlanta loses, a 3-way tie at 5-7, favors Carolina. They have a 2-1 head-to-head record over Baltimore and Atlanta. Baltimore would be 1-2, Atlanta 1-1 in that situation. So the point differential doesn't factor in there. Demond and Liam both said that they think Carolina could get the win. If there's one man in this conversation that disagrees, it would probably be Andrew, who is quarterbacking for the Crabs. Andrew, talk to me a little bit about those Angry Birds and why, without giving away anything in terms of game planning, because the East is still trying to figure out their playbooks for the week. What are you guys excited about for Monday, and what makes you think you can get the win?
Playing Carolina is always exciting from a Baltimore perspective. From a league perspective, it's always exciting just to have Baltimore and Carolina play each other. Two of the more active user bases that we have here, and so the room is always full, and there's always a lot of talk, and it's great. That aside, as for the gameplay, I am so scared of Carolina. They have made so much progress, especially on defense, staying solid, and then offense really picking up. And Monroe has been a bat out of hell in recent weeks, and with their perfect or close to perfect quarterback ratings, and he seems to have definitely found a groove. So, from an unbiased opinion, gotta say that I'm thinking Carolina.
And this just in, Andrew Rastelli will be playing for a new team next year. Tim has decided to cut him effective immediately after the season for picking a Angry Bird team to win. Yeah. No, I am with you guys. I agree. I think Carolina has been hot in the past couple of weeks. Again, TJ always has something up his sleeve. I think this one will be a lot closer than the last couple games Carolina has played in. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Monday, 5 Central, 6 Eastern. We'll head to the next 2 matchups. We'll start with the one that directly affects that game. Cam on the call. Atlanta heading to St. Louis. Atlanta, if they win, I believe, are in. If they lose, the winner of the Baltimore-Carolina game is in the playoffs in the East. We will start with Andrew. let's talk to me a little bit about St. Louis and Atlanta. Do you think St. Louis could pull this off?
I don't see any reason to count St. Louis out in recent weeks. I mean, they have put themselves right in games, and they've been competitive in games, and they cut down on the blowouts, and the defense has locked things up, but their offense continues, in my opinion, to be anemic. They're not capitalizing on the improvements the defense has made. Defense is giving the ball to them, and they're just not punching it in. They're settling for field goals. So they can do it. They absolutely can. But I think I'm gonna go Atlanta, and I think Atlanta's gonna win by 13.
That would put Atlanta in the playoffs. Damon, do you think that St. Louis can pull this one out?
No, I can't. I mean, we go back previous weeks. I think it was week 4, week 3, that big blowout Atlanta had over St. Louis. But St. Louis has looked great in recent weeks with their defense, as Rastelli has said. That you just if the offense of St. Louis can put points on the board from the takeaways that the defense is giving them, they can win some ball games. But if the offense can't put points on the board, you're not going to come out successful. So in that case, I'm going to go with Atlanta on this one.
Well, I'll step in here before we go to Mr. St. Louis himself. I think there's no reason in the entire world that St. Louis can't come out and win this game. They played well against Sioux Falls, who I would argue is way better than the Atlanta team has played to this point in the season. I think Sioux Falls is better. I would argue that Tallahassee arguably would also be better than Atlanta has played. And St. Louis just played, a tough game in the weather against Sioux Falls, and arguably very easily could have walked out of there with a win. I like St. Louis in this matchup. I think in a game where it's, loser goes home, and St. Louis will be going home anyways. They got nothing to lose, so they're going to throw the sink at them. I like the Gladiators in this one. Liam, what are you thinking for this game without giving away any strategy? Because I know Mark Chisholm's in the chat. He very well might be listening.
Well, I don't want to get fired, so I'll
you don't want to be in Andrew's boat, right?
That's absolutely right. I'll go with us to win. I think we know what we have to do. We know that we just haven't put enough points on the board, and we've only scored over 30 points twice this season, and it's not good enough. But we needed to get things in order, and by having the big restructure that we had in terms of the staffing behind the scenes, since then the defense has come on leaps and bounds, and that's put us in position to win these games. We just got to push on and go on. And I think for us, next season starts here. If we can get a good win against a good team. I was in the room watching last week's game for the Swarm, and I think they impressed a lot of people with just the way that they produced against the Pride. It's going to be a very tough game. I think we absolutely have the ability to win it, though. We just have to focus on our core strengths, and hopefully we can pull something out. But it's not going to be easy. I think for me, I see the kind of spoilerific scenario happening of Carolina getting through just by virtue of them winning and us winning. I think that would be probably a very interesting weekend for the league if that turns out. And personally, I hope it happens. I think it would be pretty impressive to see Carolina coming into the playoffs, even though they may be a lowered seed, off of the back of that excellent winning streak. That could cause all sorts of implications going up against whether it be the Pride or the Sparrows. But yeah, I fancy us to win. I think it will be a very close run thing, but hopefully we can pull it out.
Or Baltimore, to that credit. Baltimore with a win and a St. Louis win would also be in the playoffs, which is why, that game is earlier, because we want that team to be waiting with bated breath, the same way that we wanted to reward St. Louis by putting their last home game on the call with Cam for the activity that they, have put forth this season. St. Louis has become very active here at the end of the year, and have stayed active despite being eliminated from the playoffs. And so when we were going through and looking at matchups that potentially could be on the air, that did factor in a little bit. Let's talk about the last matchup: Queen City at Tallahassee. This is a big game for seeding. We talked about how Tallahassee, has kind of fell off in the past couple weeks. This is either the game when they get back on the horse heading right into the playoffs, or they're going to slump their way in, and I don't think that's a good way to start into the playoffs. Queen City has been hot. I tell you what, I'm going to go with the Corsairs on this one. I think Tallahassee's looking weak, and Queen City's looking strong. I think that's about as simple as it gets.
Mm-hmm.
Damon, what do you think?
I agree with you, and if you go back to previous 3 games, Corsairs has put up 38 points, 52, and 45. Tallahassee has only averaged under 30 points with 24 versus Sioux Falls and 28 versus Atlanta. I agree with you on this one. I'm going with the Corsairs.
All right. Andrew, let's go to you.
I gotta be honest, I'm going there right with you guys. I don't think Tallahassee's defense is up to the challenge. Queen City's offense has been absolutely ridiculous recently, and to be honest, their defense has been nothing to laugh at either. They have come forth and they have shut teams down. I got Queen City winning this one probably by an easy 16.
Wow.
Okay, wow. Liam, what do you think?
Again, I think this is another game where we have a team coming off of a really hot streak against a team which has basically been stuttering, not really making any progress. The Pride, for all of their talent, of late have just not been playing to the level that they can. So I'll absolutely go right along with you. I think the Corsairs they've definitely been performing well lately. They want to go in and continue the streak that they've got going into the playoffs, and I don't see any reason why they can't. I think they're definitely going to win against the Pride.
So I think, if I heard correctly, we all just went Corsairs to beat Tallahassee, and in turn, that would put Sioux Falls, I believe, strongly in the number 1 seed spot. So I'm sure AJ Levy in the chat would appreciate that. Mark Chisholm wants to point out that I have been hating on Atlanta all season. My opinion was, since the beginning of the season, that they are not top 4 in the East. I have stuck by that, despite them having a very strong week 1 against Baltimore, who I thought would be better this season. I'm going to stand by that. It's nothing against Mark. I think he's a great guy. It's a very strong franchise. Personally, I think they're on the outside looking in this season, and next season they very well have their opportunity to be on the inside looking out. That's all I'll say for that. Just a difference of opinion, Mark. Still love you, buddy. Let's talk a little bit about Discord. The league strikes a deal with Discord. I know Andrew was very instrumental in working with Cam for that. Andrew, do you kind of want to run through some of the benefits that Discord brings us that Slack did not?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first, I got to give Liam credit for even putting it on my radar. I'd used Discord in the past for various other things, but never even considered it for the SFL because, I don't know, just never even occurred to me, even though it's the same tool. Okay, so Discord, as you guys have already seen in the time that you've been on it, is virtually the same exact thing that you're on. You're able to tag channels and users. You have your private DMs, you have your group DMs, and your group DMs are actually increased now. You can get up to 10 people in them. We have our mobile app, so you get your instantaneous notifications and alerts. We have our customizable emojis. So Jason has his Kapow already loaded up and ready to go. We have reactions, and so we were able to kind of keep doing things like the Who You Got and so on that we rely on the reactions for, and just for general chit-chatting that we do. So as for the differences and what really makes it better is I'm going to start off with security. We're able to ban and kick hostile accounts that come in. We're able to, and that's done through IP and account. So that means that once an account is blocked, it cannot come back. And if someone makes a second account and comes in on a different device, once that's blocked, then that device is also shut down. So that really helps us from especially a lot of the spam we've been getting recently. We also get full administrative control using our roles that you've seen in the member list on the right-hand side of Discord. I've split everybody up into their teams. So now you see the people that are online for that specific team listed there, which I feel is a really useful tool. Before we were doing the whole media league, FOF, and you know, those tags on the end of our usernames. But now we have an actual list that shows, hey, this person from Carolina is online. I can, you know, talk to someone from Carolina. With that, we're also able to do specific permissions. We're able to give owners a little bit more control so they can help moderate the community, as well as give coaches some mild control within the team channels to try and help things out there. One of the big things that Cam was looking for is the ability to embed our communication service in the league website. And Discord gives us that ability. We're able to embed a widget that shows all the active users that are currently online and gives a button to connect, which essentially comes with its own invite link like you all have received before. That will dump anyone who clicks it into the introductions channel, which I'm sure you've seen. Now, nobody is able to write anything in the introductions channel besides brand new people who join the server. So everybody just basically reads up, and if there's someone that you're interested with, you can send them a DM. Once they post in the introductions channel, I will then change their role and they will become a free agent, and that'll give them access to the basic channels. And then as soon as they sign with the team, they'll get the roles for that team. They'll leave the free agent role. This gives us a lot more, a faster way of getting people involved in the community without having to deal with type forms and emails and so on. Just people can come in, they see that they see an active community right there on the league website, and they're able to join right away. We have a friend list, so you can look at the people you communicate with most, see if they're online. As far as an administrative thing is, we're able to do an account purge every 30 days. Get rid of some of these inactive accounts. They'll be kicked. They won't be banned. And if someone just comes back after that lengthy amount of time and they said, hey, you know, I can't come in, then they can let the league, they can just reconnect again, and they get that invite link, and then their account will be right back in.
So it sounds like what we're doing is we're keeping the league active, so trying to promote more activity as well as security, which I think are both very strong steps. Damon, we'll ask you as an owner, are you happy?
I'm excited. I'm excited, man. It has been a tremendous experience working with the new app, whether it's by phone. You can even download it as an app on your PC or Mac. So I love it, man. You don't have to pull up a website all the time for it. So it's very navigatable. If there's even a word, it's easy to navigate. It's easy to navigate and everything, man. It's like Rastelli said. It's pretty similar to Slack, but you're able to. I'm not Rastelli. I'm saying James, right? So I've been calling that all night. But anyway, yeah, it's similar to Slack, man. But I like it. You're able to change, your the lighting on it. You want it to light, or you want it to dark or so, to be ease on the eyes or whatnot. So yeah, I like it. And also, the security of it, phenomenal. Something that we need, so we don't have these duplicate accounts and spies or whatnot coming into our league. So great find.
Fair assessment. I like it a lot. I think it's great. I just can't wait to get everyone over there and get the thing running full speed. The last thing I want to touch on tonight, we have a gentleman here who has put in an expansion bid for a team across the pond in London. I want to give Liam some chances now to kind of introduce himself to those who may not know him, as well as talk to the league a little bit about what football, sim football, the SFL, all of that means to him. Liam, man, the floor is yours.
Yeah, well, thanks for the opportunity. I've had involvement with esports and virtual sports previously. I've had experience with soccer, my football, I suppose, association football, but I've had an interest in American football for many years. I became a Carolina Panthers fan or supporter 10 years ago. So I've been following the game for a decade, really, and developed my interest. And one of the things which really appeals to me is the team building aspect of it. So to find the SFL, I found the SFL a few months ago and decided to get involved. And it's been very much a learning experience for me in terms of getting involved and interacting with new people. And I thought with the opportunity coming up for putting in an expansion bid in, having a team in Europe would be a big boost to the visibility of the league. It's certainly going to be an interesting challenge for me, getting to grips with all the ownership structure and getting to grips with the rules. But I think I can certainly make a good run of it. We've got a good team brand together. We've got openings for people who want to come together and work on the prospective franchise. And it's going to be with the London Knights. We're going to be playing out of City of London Stadium. And we're going to be red and white and gold is kind of this prospective colour scheme of the team. I know that there was a previous Knights team. I believe it was New York. I think I may have got it wrong when I spoke to Cam previously, but we're hopefully gonna take on the kind of legacy and run with it. We're gonna put together a good team, I hope, and hopefully we'll be joining in and contributing and putting together a good product going on into the future for the league. It's really all I have to say. I know it's going to be an interesting challenge for sure. But I'll certainly put my all into getting things together and making sure that we can put out a competitive team in London, and hopefully we'll be joining in with the festivities next season.
Sure. In all my conversations with Liam to this point, he's been a very stand-up, very professional person. So, I'm more than willing to vouch for his character, and Dwayne on our show last week vouched for his work ethic in St. Louis. All of these things that you need if you're looking to be an expansion team. And for anyone who just might now be hearing about the expansions, don't worry, there will be more coming down the line after next season. So, start working on your bids for that if you're free. Get involved with a team. If you haven't coached for a team or helped with scouting or anything like that, get to doing that in some way, shape, or form. There's plenty of teams that would love help in terms of scouting. So, find the time, find the right person, and get involved. That's all I can say. I asked the chat if they had any questions. It doesn't look like they do, so we'll round this thing out. Damond, any last words for the evening?
No, just be live and present tomorrow for those games this week. Happy Easter to everyone if you're celebrating it. Also, see you guys Monday night for the live stream, for the doubleheader live stream. That's awesome right there. Doubleheader live stream. Yeah, be prepared. Be prepared for great commentating from Andy and from Cam later on in the evening. So, see you guys. I'm signing off. Y'all have a good one.
Awesome. Andrew, any last words for the evening?
Yeah, guys, I got to be honest. The league can't be more excited about Week 14. We have so many games that are worth something in Week 14, and that's all you can ask for.
Yeah.
Everyone really pretty much has something to play for. So really exciting matchups. And as you can tell from a lot of what we were saying tonight, like, we may have made a choice one way or the other. Sometimes you choose your own team to win by 20, but all the games are gonna be completely up in the air. And so you guys got to check them out, because I won't be able to. I'm going to be traveling for Easter.
Yeah, sometimes you pick your own team by 20. Sometimes you pick your mortal enemy to defeat you in the biggest game of your season. Liam, any last words for the SFL Nation for the evening?
Well, I've put up a job opening for a new QB, because I think my friend over there is going to be looking for a new team after picking the Skyhawks. But I mean, it's been really enjoyable. So thanks for having me on the show, Andy. As I say, with all the expansion team stuff and everything going on in St. Louis and everything, everybody's free to message me if they want to chat about stuff. I'm more than happy to help out with anything. So, it's been great being on the show. I'm looking forward to seeing how the weekend of games plays out. It's going to be an interesting weekend, and hopefully the playoffs will be just as intense. So, looking forward to it.
Playoffs kicking off on the 23rd. That's not this Sunday, but the Sunday following that. We'll see you at 7 Central, 8 Eastern tomorrow. Eric will be live on this YouTube page. We'll also have 2 games going on Rabbit if you're interested in watching either of those. For me, I'm going to be Renegade Nation tomorrow night, in hoping that the Michael Irvine-led Renegades can defeat Houston in their home stadium, as well as being a Shark Nation member, hoping that we can get the win against Dallas. I think that's it for the evening. We'll see you guys tomorrow, 7 Central, 8 Eastern, and then Monday at 5 Central, 6 Eastern. Peace, guys.
See ya.
Peace.
Later.